Working for Victoria's Secret, that is genuinely why I'm on this earth.
Next year, Victoria's Secret fashion show. Do we think we're walking?
That was like a lifetime goal. My upbringing was quite interesting until I started social media when I was about 17.
How did you deal with the fame when it first hit?
I could not process it. 0 to like 4 million in probably 3 months.
Olivia, welcome to Post Red High.
Thank you for having me.
We just ran about a mile.
Yes. I have not sweat this much in quite some time. I'm not going to lie to you.
What is your favorite form of movement right now?
I don't want to say Pilates because everyone says that, but I would say Pilates because I feel like you can chat with your girlfriends and also get a good workout. Growing up, basically, water skiing was my life, as well as track and field and trying not to fail school.
It's so interesting that you were a water skier. Like, that blows my mind. I didn't even know there was professional water skiing.
Yeah, it's so random. I actually met someone recently, and I've never in my entire life met someone who also professionally water skis until like 3 days ago. And then I was like, oh, so we're the same person basically.
Is it like a team practice? Like after school, we're showing up, everybody's getting onto a boat and we're taking turns in the water?
It's every Sunday, and we would go out to a lake and ski from 7 a.m. to whenever the sun sat. You would do pyramids, and you would climb on top of other people and do like all these twists. It's like cheerleading, but on skis.
Do you also surf?
Yeah.
Okay. So you do kind of all the water sports.
Yeah, but that was like differently. I learned how to surf like maybe 4 years ago. And it was a lot harder than I was expecting it to be because it's like snow skiing mixed with water skiing. Interesting.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. What was your family dynamic like? Like, I know you have a sister.
Yes, I have an older sister. Her name's Abigail. And then I have my beautiful mother. I never call her by her name, but her name is Diane.
Diane.
Miss Diane. And then
So
I have
cute.
my dad, and I grew up just in a very loving family. I was definitely the outcast, and I loved making trouble.
Within the family, you were the outcast?
Yeah. I would say specifically in the family. My sister was like the perfect golden angel, and I was always the one who was getting suspended from school or just grounded basically for 3 years straight of my life. When I was 16, I basically was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I need to figure out a way to get out in kind of any way, shape, or form. Then when I turned 17, started doing social media, and then I randomly got asked to move to LA, so that was kind of my out.
You were one of those teenagers that was being a little bit rambunctious. You were the youngest, and you just wanted to get space from your family, kind of thing. Which is
I just
so
wanted
normal.
to move out, yes.
Right. But before you moved to LA, I know that when you were, 16 or 17, you got into modeling.
Yeah, it was interesting. When I was 16, random people would come up to me and just be like, oh my gosh, I think you should model. And I just was always like, what? Like, no. And then I applied to agencies online when I believe I was 17. Maybe 16. And oh my God, the photos were so... I went outside because my best friend at the time just had signed to a modeling agency in Miami. Went outside in a bright pink neon bikini. And if you model, that's just like a no-no. You don't take digitals in a bright colored bikini. And I took them with my phone camera. I sent them to 4 or 5 agencies in Miami. And then an agency in New York ended up reaching back out through them called Wilhelmina. And the agent was like, send me more pictures that of this. And I was like, I don't have any more pictures. What do you want me to do? So I went, took a bunch with my friends. And then I came home from school one day and I was like, I'm moving to New York. They're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I made up my mind. And they were like, no, you're not. And I made a whole PowerPoint presentation of why they should let me go and visit at least. Then for spring break, they finally said, okay. And we all went up here. We met with Wilhelmina in person. And I signed in person that day, which was really a special moment.
What initially drew you into modeling?
I think for me, when you were young, everyone had their thing that they wanted to be. And mine was I wanted to be an anesthesiologist.
Wow.
The person that puts you to sleep when you're about to get a surgery. But then I soon realized that you have to go to school for 13 years. And I was like, oh, so I wouldn't even start my job until I was in my 30s, well in my 30s. And I kind of took a step back. And then I watched my very first Victoria's Secret fashion show. 14 years old, by the way. Let's keep this in mind. And I come up to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I have my new job and career. Meanwhile, her daughter wants to be an anesthesiologist. This is what she thinks. And I go, I want to be a Victoria's Secret model. And she's like, okay, I had not hit puberty yet. Like, she was like, okay, we'll keep on going. I was maybe 5 foot.
Who was your favorite model at the time?
At the time, Josephine Scriber. She's still my favorite model. We're friends. I'm lucky enough to be friends with her, and she is the sweetest person I've ever met. Then I dove into sports because that was so unrealistic for me at the time. I was like, oh, modeling New York City. I've never even been to New York City. So I started really focusing on running because I was like, okay, I could get a college scholarship to go somewhere to run, and that, to me, I thought that would make my parents very happy, and like every kid, you just want to make your parents proud of you. So I dove head into that. Not gonna lie, not gonna hype myself up. I was not terrible. Okay?
I feel like you were very good.
Thank you. And I was to the level where I could get a scholarship. So in, my sophomore and my junior year, it's the only thing I'm focusing on. And my junior year, I just didn't, I loved it, but it was very, you understand like the athlete dynamic between like your body, how you look at your body versus you can constantly compare yourself to other people because you're doing the same exact things as they are doing. Constant comparing myself to other people and why I could never be as good as them. And this is also kind of when I started posting on social media, like around the same months. And doing social media at my high school, like most people, not a huge thing. Like kind of a little weird if you were doing it. And people did not have the nicest things in the world to say about me doing social media. And I just never cared. I was like, I am going to leave in like 6 months and I'm probably never going to see any of you guys again. So if you have something mean to say, keep it to yourself. And I remember we had our first track meet. And that was the first time someone had recognized me in person because it was a huge track meet and this one really sweet girl. And my teammates were like shocked by that. And I was like, guess I'm doing something right now. Yeah. Okay.
Were you also at the same time doing photo shoots for brands and doing work with Wilhelmina?
That, I was signed with them.
Okay.
It was more so a plan when I graduated, I was going to move there. And I have found an apartment. I figured it out. It was like the smallest 1-bedroom apartment. I was sharing it with other people. Smallest bedroom. I think there was no bedroom. It was a bed, basically. I was completely okay with living there. I was going to have to get, extra jobs. My agent said most models beginning work 1 to 2 jobs to be able to pay for living expenses. Because in the beginning of modeling, sometimes occasionally you do have to pay for photo shoots or you do have to pay out of pocket for all the really small things that you wouldn't think of just from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, you have to make it in the city. It's hard. What was the pivotal moment for you that you were like, okay, I'm going to do modeling instead of going to college?
I remember this so vividly. My best friend, Emma, this is actually how we became friends because I posted on my close friends and I think it was on Snapchat, I believe, and she was on it. We were not friends. And I literally printed them out in front of me. I had my modeling contract, and I had to go to FIU, which is Florida International University in Miami. And I had like 2 options, and I just sat there for hours in my bedroom just trying to figure out. I was like, I need to make the decision tonight, because if I don't do it tonight, I'm never going to do it.
That's a huge decision.
Yeah. Like, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How involved were your parents in the decision?
They did not want me moving to New York.
Okay.
They were very much like, you are going to college. When I first brought it up to them, they were like, absolutely not. And the fun part about social media that I absolutely adore is that when I was 17 years old, I could financially stabilize myself. And I wasn't like just going crazy, running around. It's like I had a plan.
And you end up moving to LA instead of New York.
Yes.
This is the part that I totally didn't remember about you being in the Hype House.
Yeah, okay. It was very interesting.
What was the following count that you were at the time that they reached out?
I think when they asked me, I had about 500,000 followers on TikTok, maybe. It was really fast. Like, I'm talking like night and day. Like, it was from 0 to like 4 million in probably 3 months, 2 months, which is, to any person, it's like you can't even process that. You don't process it. And it's been 4 years and I still don't process it.
It's so crazy to think about, like, that many eyeballs are on you. And obviously it's not all at once, right? It's like you have 11 million followers. Like, some of your videos go mega viral, but it is a crazy number to fathom.
At the time, I had a boyfriend who lived I had an ex-boyfriend who lived in LA, and we'd started dating when I lived in Florida. I had my best friend who lived in Orlando. I lived in Naples. And her and I would always meet up to hang out. And one day we both got DMs from the person who started Hype House and another member also who was in the house. And they basically were just like, hey, can we go on a phone call? They sounded all businessy. I was like, I'm 17 years old. Like, and I live in Florida. Like, business? Like, okay. And so we basically got on a FaceTime phone call and they talked to us. They asked us a bunch of random questions about our lives. And we were just like, here's it is. And then they asked us, I think the following day, to come out to Los Angeles to see how it would work. At first, I was very like, no, I'm okay. But my best friend really wanted to. And I was dating someone who lived there. So it just made sense. And I was like, COVID's just happened. Nobody's traveling. I'm not going to school because school isn't even starting.
Like modeling's not really happening
Yeah,
right now
like nothing.
No photo. There weren't any photo shoots really, right?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I might as well. I just want to leave my house.
Totally.
So we moved very randomly. I told my parents 2 days before that I was moving. They were not happy with that one.
You were a funny teenager.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I just walked into the room and was like, by the way, guys, I'm moving in 2 days and I should be back in a few weeks. But if I don't come back, like that, I'm going to be in Los Angeles. My mom didn't love that. But anyhow, we moved. The Hype House is basically a ginormous house in Hollywood Hills. And there was probably 17 bedrooms in it. Or no, 17 people, 14 boys, 3 girls. I was the only single girl who lived there for the 4-month period of time.
What is it like jumping to living in a house with all these other guys? That's a hard
Also
dynamic.
something like unfathomable. Like you cannot process it until you're in that situation.
But so fun.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
it is fun. It is fun.
It was really fun. For me, that was like my college experience. And I look back at that and I'm like, wow, I had like a 4-month summed up, condensed 4 years for most people. And I learned so much about myself in that time period. And basically we'd wake up and like film videos all day and then hang out and then party at night. And then you go to sleep and you do the same thing every day. And then I did that for 4 months and I was like, okay, I'm going a little insane. I need to leave. So then I moved into a different house with like 8 of my other friends and lived there for 6 months. And then I was like, okay, LA, love you, goodbye.
Yeah. And then you moved to New York.
Yes.
How do you feel like New York compares to LA?
I love the beach. Obviously, New York very much lacks the beach here. Yeah. But I think if New York had a beach,
that would be
we would
sick.
be best friends.
I always think about that. I'm like, what if we could fucking swim in the Hudson River? That would be
amazing.
Amazing. Like
Yeah.
the piers were all just little like docks that we could jump off of.
But there's so many cities that are like that. Like Barcelona.
Do you feel like you could see yourself living abroad?
I could live anywhere and I'd actually be the happiest girl in the entire world. Like I really would.
I'm curious, like everything happens so fast. How did you deal with the fame when it first hit?
I got a life coach.
Okay.
And if you don't, and for anyone who doesn't know what a life coach is, it's basically like a series of intense, for me, life coaches are different from everyone. Mine was a series of like therapy 2 to 3 times a day. And for however, it's consecutive days. So I had mine for, I think, about 3 weeks. So I would be in intensive therapy because I could not process it. Every person struggles with imposter syndrome where you don't feel like you're actually in your body.
I've talked to so many people about this that have achieved like so much success, specifically also like in the interviewing space. And they will literally say to you, like, it never goes away.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So
we're all dealing with that.
Yeah, and I had an amazing life coach who would kind of talk me through things. I'm a very visual learner and I need to like see it in front of me and be able to understand it for it to be okay. And I went through that for about 3 weeks and for some reason that kind of just helped everything click with me.
What are some of the tools that they taught you?
My life coach basically broke down how many followers is like 1 million, for even an example. You know, the nearest stadium to me growing up was the Marlins Stadium, and he had me Google how many people fit in the stadium. 36,000 people. 36K. He's like, have you ever been to that stadium before? I was like, yes. He's like, how, like, did it seem big? And I was like, yes, it's the biggest stadium I've ever been in. And he's like, and then I think 36 times 39, don't quote me on the math. That's from 4 years ago of my knowledge. like he told me you are inside of 39 of those stadiums with even just 1 million people following you. And like you said, they're not looking at every single thing, but over the course of a period of time, they are. And especially at that point in my life, it was like just so many people that it was so unfathomable to me that having that in the back of my brain kind of broke things down. And I was like, oh, I am understanding the reach of the people that I'm reaching. So this is why I'm going to talk about the healthy things. Like I very much started on social media by posting my workouts because growing up, I just wanted to help people. And, you know, this is what works for me. So I don't know if it's going to work for you, but like, let's try it. And I started with like a cute like quarantine series and it was so fun to me. And I would just,
oh yeah, I need to see these. I feel like I haven't seen these videos.
They were so fun to make. And I would just basically go with my phone and I would work out and I would just set it up on the floor. It was the simplest thing ever. They're 15-second long videos and I just cut up my little workouts and I understood the reach of the people I was giving. So I just wanted to radiate as much happiness because that's all that I care about.
I really appreciate you saying that. So thank you, because I totally agree. I think with social media, there's so much negativity online. I think positive content creators are like, that's what we need more of.
You just need them.
We just need them. How do you deal with the highs and lows of social media?
I was going through a hard time mentally with like trying to process everything. Very random. Miss Amazing Madison Beer, shout out, I love you.
I love her.
I was sitting down with her and I was talking to her about it because she's experienced a lot, way more than I have ever, just through, she's been on social media for significantly longer than me. And she's like, just turn off your comments. They can't comment negative things if you don't give them a platform to comment. So I turn off my comments for months. And even if I did feel comfortable turning them back on, I just cut them off. I was like, you know what? She's so right. Like, if you give people a platform to comment on, they're going to share their opinions.
Comments are like a beast of their own, too.
Yeah.
It's like there's the video content and then there's the comments.
Yes.
And the comments take on a whole nother life.
Yes. So I just kept those off for a while. And then also something that the life coach taught me was just like, don't look at them. And I know it's very much easier said than done. But for me, like, ignorance is bliss. Like, I'm just going to look the other way.
And you're such a good person that the comments are never going to be that bad, ever.
Oh, no. Sometimes they're mean. But I'm just like, you know what? Like, I don't know this person. They don't know me.
No.
So why would I allow them even a thought in my brain? Because I know all that they want to do is hurt my feelings.
Right.
Why would I let someone hurt my feelings?
Yeah. Do you feel like you set boundaries with with social media?
Sometimes yes. Sometimes no. I feel like I'm very vulnerable about certain topics that I feel like people know not to comment certain things. And if they do, sometimes I see and someone claps back at them really quickly.
I love
I'm
that.
Like, thank you.
And that's where we're like, we love our friends online.
Yeah. I'm like, thank you very much. I needed that.
You've had so much success modeling and you've had so much success as a content creator. Let's start with Sports Illustrated. What was it like getting the call where you found out you were going to be a Sports Illustrated rookie?
Oh my gosh. I actually was looking through my memories and I have a video like right after I found out and let's paint the picture. So I'm in Los Angeles and I'm shooting a actual swimsuit campaign for this brand and we're at the most beautiful set. I was so grateful this day. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is my life right now. And I'm getting my makeup done and my publicist calls me and I'm like, okay, that's so random. They never call me. I was like, what? And I was like, hello. And she's like, can you step away from everyone for a second? And I was like, yeah. I'm thinking something's wrong.
Yeah,
I was
like, I didn't look at the comments today.
Yeah. So I go into the corner. I'm in this forest, basically. Going to like this random corner. And I'm like, okay, I'm by myself. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. I was like, what's up? What's wrong? And she's like, Sports Illustrated asked you to be a rookie for this year. And I was like, oh, cut the cameras. What do you mean? What? And I like immediately fell to the ground. I was crying. I was the happiest person in the world. They're obviously like, don't tell anyone. I was like, okay, I'm telling my mom. And I told my best friend. Sorry, guys. And
immediately.
Yeah,
you have
immediately.
To. Yeah.
And they were both very happy for me, and I was just sobbing in tears. And I come back to set, and the makeup artist is like, "What's wrong?" Everyone's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "They're like, what's wrong?" I was like, "I literally can't tell you. I want to tell you, but I cannot tell you." And then we shot it, I think 2 weeks later in Montenegro, which was insane.
So that happened fast. It's like
Yes.
you get the rookie call and then you're ready to shoot.
Sports Illustrated, they want to embrace your beauty and however that is. So they never want to give you too long. And from my opinion, they never want to give you too long to like prepare or anything. They're
That's
like,
what it
we
seems
want you
like, yeah.
exactly how you are. Get the call.
I feel like Sports Illustrated for you is an amazing partner because you are like the intersection of athlete and model.
That was like a lifetime goal. And the fact that I got it when I was 18, I was like, this is what? Like, this is insane. Hello. And the first time we shot in Montenegro, I was just crying the whole day. I was like, MJ, I'm so sorry. Like,
That's
I
so
can't
cool to
stop
say.
crying. Yeah, I was
Montenegro.
like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Also Montenegro, like the middle, I had no idea where we were going. I had to Google what Montenegro was when I was getting on the plane. I was like, hello. And it was like a 16-hour shoot day. I was like, I will stay here for 24 hours if you guys want me to. I don't care. And I remember it was freezing cold, and we were shooting obviously all swimsuits. And I remember just going home and just being like, what? Did that just happen?
You're like serious imposter syndrome hits then.
For sure.
Right. What is it like being on set for Sports Illustrated? Describe like what the set is like.
Yeah.
Like you're in this beautiful place.
Yes.
How many people are with you production wise? Like are there a ton of photographers?
You fly in the night before. Sometimes you do a fitting prior, but we had done the fitting in New York City, so we didn't have to fly in too earlier. Landed. Next morning, you wake up at like 3 a.m. basically, so they can start hair and makeup at like 4, I believe. And there's just one hair artist, one makeup artist. They completely transformed me into this like glowing goddess with all these hair extensions. And I have, you fake tanned so much the night before.
I love that.
And you wake up and you're like, I don't look like
I'd be
myself.
so nervous my fake tan is gonna be like splotchy.
Oh,
Do they do it for you?
I think
Like
my
I'd be like, I
second
need
year,
a spray tan artist.
I was really funny. My second year, I did not know this makeup artist, and she's like, "Can I tan you with like an oven mitt, like with the mitt?" And I was like, yeah, like here you go." And that was such an like with modeling, you have to be really comfortable with your body because
it's invasive.
it's if you're not like, well, you better get used to it really quickly.
100%. How do you feel like you got used to that? Like all of a sudden there's like grown ass men taking your picture and you have to be in a bathing suit.
Yeah.
That's hard. But it's also kind of empowering.
It's very empowering. I think I like to look at it as that way. But I think for the privacy part of it, when I was younger, I would get a little nervous about, asking for privacy because I was like, I don't want to be an inconvenience. And then I got to a point where I was like, I didn't want other people to see me because I was in a relationship. And it didn't matter if it was girls or boys or whoever. The other person did not want anyone seeing me. And also same for myself. And I would ask people on set like, hey, do you have like a changing area? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's humbling. So you kind of just had to get used to it in a weird way. But now I'm very grateful that I can just stand up for myself. And I'm like, okay, we need to figure this out.
Yeah, you're like, we're going to need a changing area or a towel or something.
Anything,
right.
Which is interesting. Back to Sports Illustrated set.
Yeah.
You wake up, fake tan, washed off, hair, makeup, eat breakfast. You got to make sure you eat this day because you're constantly posing like all day. It is tiring to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
And you just food is fuel. So I had, I think 2 Red Bulls and I ate a lot of food this day. I had really good salmon for lunch. Anyhow, you immediately start first lights and we shot on the beach and the production is probably 15 to 20 people, I would say. Photographer's name was James McCary, and he was absolutely phenomenal. Was so good at making people feel comfortable just in their own skin. And MJ is just such a light, and she wants you to just feel like the most confident version of yourself. So they got the speaker going, they got the music.
I love that.
You can just be dancing, like you feel so confident.
The vibes are there.
Oh, the vibes are there, and you're like in a foreign country, and you're in a little bikini, and you feel good. Like the vibes were just 110% that day. So we shot around the beach that we were staying at, and then we went into the town of Montenegro and shot around there for a few hours and came back and did sunset at this other beach. And it was like a cement beach. It was very interesting, but it was like 20 degrees when we were shooting the last, and I was like Did we get the shot, please?
It's so cool. And I love knowing that. Like I've talked to other people that have been Sports Illustrated models or that are, and they all say like the shoots are literally so empowering. But like going back to a little bit of what we talked about with like setting boundaries when you're on set, I listened to your Emily Ratajkowski podcast, which I loved. And you guys were both very open about like, there are situations in modeling where you're young and you don't know how to like stand up for yourself. And then certain things happen that you're not comfortable with. And so you have to set boundaries.
That's also like an empowering thing. I think once you get older and you develop those boundaries within your own life, and then you come to work and you can be like, oh, that's not normal. Like, you're not supposed to be treating me like that. You're not supposed to ask me for that. Or, you know, just anything. There's been countless times where I've had to like text my agent, like when I'm at work and I'm like, hey, this person's weird, or like, hey, this isn't okay, or just vice versa. And then
It's so nice having that person too to be able to go to. Like having a team around you is key.
Oh yes, 100%. And then my agent's always like, "Dude, I'm on it," and then fixes it. So I'm like, thank you.
Okay, let's talk about Victoria's Secret. When I saw you doing the promo for the Victoria's Secret fashion show, I was like, oh my God, if Olivia walks, like my day's gonna be made. I just feel like you embody a Victoria's Secret angel. Like I grew up watching the show.
Oh, so I grew up watching the show as well.
Right? It's like especially having it come back. I was in Austin for F1 and I'm like sitting there with my laptop out watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And I literally was having so many flashbacks to being in high school and watching the show and seeing Candace and Adriana. And I'm like, oh my God.
I think it's such a nostalgic feeling for every
I think
girl.
Our
generation, like as a whole, like we all grew up watching and just being like,
yeah. It was amazing. So I'm curious, what was it like being backstage?
Okay, first of all, I had no idea I was actually going backstage when they were getting their hair and makeup done.
But Victoria's Secret's like a family to you because you've done a lot of pink campaigns. Like you're very ingrained in the company.
They're like family, family through and through. Mm-hmm. Every time I go on set, obviously when I first started working for them, I was very nervous, but I was like so determined to make them like me. And I was like, we're going to love each other, okay?
You're so likable. You shouldn't be worried about that ever.
Thank you. But I think people have a kind of semi-knowledge of why they're on this earth and what their point is. And you get to a point in life where you can understand that about yourself. I would like to say I've done a lot of self-healing very young in my life to understand that working for Victoria's Secret is that's why I'm on this earth. That is genuinely why I'm on this earth. And
wait, I'm dying. That's so
it's
cool.
very weird. It's like I have a tattoo for Angel. It's a whole thing. And we've talked about what we were going to do for the backstage thing. And I'm good at talking to people, but I was like, I'm also like a little shy. Like I'm just supposed to go up to these people who I don't know. Like, oh my gosh. And they are, from my knowledge, I thought I was just going to interview them like on the pink carpet. Like when they were going to be coming through, I was just going to be asking questions and I did this. And then earlier in the day, they're like, okay, ready to go? I was like, go where? And they're like, backstage. I was like, oh, we're right now? Right now? And they're like, yeah, we're just going to go take some, pictures, videos, whatever. So still I have no idea that I'm interviewing them. And we get there and they're like, here's your microphone. I was like, why do I need a microphone? And they're like, oh, you're doing the questions right now. I was like,
did you have questions prepared?
Like, yes. They also helped a lot with that because it was kind of like cutesy questions.
I felt like your interviews were very natural.
Well, I know so much about them. Like I really do. And not from like a weird stalker point. No. Just like I've grew up watching them. I grew up loving them. I've also followed them for 6 years.
There's also a relatability factor to interviewing these girls. Like you are in that world.
Yeah. So it's like I can kind of like Lila Moss. Love her. We're friends. So I think when they were like, oh, do you want to go interview her? I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so natural. Like, it's just like I'm having a conversation with her. Or Miss Alex Gonzani. She's the funniest person I think I've ever met. So I think it was so easy because she would just make everything just such a moment. And even with the other girls that I was interviewing, being able to interview them and just ask them questions that I'm genuinely curious about, I was like, okay, this is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
I feel like the biggest thing I've learned with interviewing is it's like you can't really go into it with too much of a plan. You have to just see where the conversation takes you.
Fully. It's like I knew too much about them to not make, like, for it to be awkward. I was like, wait, Olivia. Like,
I love it.
You can't make it awkward.
No, it's fine. Even if you make it awkward, it's like cute.
Yeah, it would be funny. So it was very fun to be backstage with everyone.
Next year, Victoria's Secret Fashion Show 2025. Do we think we're walking?
We're going to manifest.
We're manifesting. I'm manifesting it for you.
I think it just all depends. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a VS Pink girly. till I like if they have a section.
I think it would be so cool to see more like content creators and like faces in the show.
It would be cute to bring in like a mixed merge a bit, because the modeling industry is also a very tough industry to get started in if you're someone who's just, you know, beginning and doesn't have like a social presence behind it. And I know there's like a lot of back and forth because a lot of content creators have switched over and, you know, gotten into the modeling space. And I mean, it's a very competitive industry. I mean, social media, there's so many opportunities for so many people to work, and that's why I love it. Modeling is not as much. It's like you're all fighting basically for the same jobs. What I personally loved about the show this year is that they had such an array of talent, of people. They had brought a bunch of girls back, but they also had a bunch of new faces and girls who are just strictly models. And I personally love that. I was like, okay, you guys are pretty.
Absolutely. And I think there's space for everyone.
I think with modeling, you're taught to not have a personality, and you're taught just to be there and to make people happy and to like go home. And I think because I have the social media, people already know what kind of my personality is. So when I come onto set, it's not like I'm out of pocket, like being my happy little self,
space,
which
right?
is really fun.
Yeah,
like
it's really, really fun. Okay, what are we manifesting for 2025?
Genuinely, like happiness. Like, and I know that's different to everyone, and everyone measures their success in their own ways, but like being able to slow down and just be like grateful for everything. I think a lot of people don't do that enough, because being happy and content with what you have is so important, and it's something that I think every single person should have in their heart. So I think that is what I'm excited about, is just like sharing my life with people who love the same things that I love and just want to be good humans, because like we were talking about, we need more of those.
I know. I love that. I agree. I think with social media, get like the dopamine rush of like one great thing happening and then kind of being like, okay, what's the next thing?
Yeah. And it's like, you don't need to look at it like that. It's like, you did one great thing, like congratulate yourself, like feel happy about it. Like just because the next day something else is happening to someone else doesn't mean that you should be like, oh my God, wait, now I need to do something again. No, be happy with yourself, be proud of yourself. I think our generation is not proud of ourselves enough. We are taught to not like ourselves basically, and I don't like that. And I'm like kind of trying to, you know, learn how to not do that.
Confidence is so important. And you see it with girls like yourself. You see it with girls like Alex Consani. I just love seeing the confidence. Yeah. It's so empowering and
exactly.
It's inspiring.
And yeah, having confidence is truly the most attractive thing about someone, in my opinion. And I'm like, we just need to all embody that a little bit more.
Okay, well, Olivia, thank you so freaking much. You are amazing. I am so excited to see everything that you go on to do.
Maybe I'll get back into running.
Yeah.
Maybe not.